So today we're going to be talking about something that, look, I think this is one of those things where, look, I'm talking about a topic. It's something that I really just want to talk about. I'm going to be honest. I don't think this is going to happen. I'm not making a prediction by any means, and I think there is a greater chance of me being promoted to Stephen A. Smith's job than this happening. But we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna talk about the purely basketball implications, and we're gonna talk about it like we're gonna be completely honest here, because at the end of the day, I think it's one of those things where we absolutely can be like we can talk about this from a basketball perspective, because at the end of the day, like the Indiana Fever would play Caitlin Clark 0 minutes a game. They would play her 0 minutes a game if it still meant being able to parade her around and sell all the tickets. They're never going to sell her. Like Caitlin Clark, they're never going to trade her. Unless Caitlin Clark demands out, they're never going to trade her, and Caitlin Clark's not going to demand out. We can be honest. She's not going to demand out of Indiana. She likes Indiana. She likes her team. I'm just saying this right now. Caitlin Clark really likes Kelsey Mitchell, and Kelsey Mitchell really likes Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, I've said this with the Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White thing. Stephanie White is not getting fired coming into this season. But us, as people that talk about the sport and fans, we're allowed to discuss basketball. And that's one of these weird things is like, we're not in this team. We're allowed to have basketball discussions. You're allowed to disagree on basketball takes. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to spot trends. But at the end of the day, no matter what, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White, because of the mutual respect they have for each other as people, it will take until until it's a guarantee that it doesn't work. And I think we'll see, like, if next season the Indiana Fever don't improve and they regress, and Caitlin Clark is down to like 15-7, which is there is a possibility. If you build around Kelsey Mitchell, and you are running a motion offense being built around Kelsey Mitchell, which means you are bringing in players to improve Kelsey Mitchell's game, and the players that improve Kelsey Mitchell's the game that she wants to play, unfortunately, are not the exact same players that you want around Caitlin Clark. Like, Odyssey Sims is not a player you want beside Caitlin Clark, but Odyssey Sims is a fine player in a your turn, my turn point guard system, as we saw last year. Like, Odyssey Sims and Caitlin Clark in a your turn, my turn doesn't work. Caitlin Clark doesn't really work off the ball. So if you're going to run Kelsey Mitchell as your primary option, Caitlin Clark becomes kind of useless. Not kind of useless, but she just becomes another player. And that's... It just is what it is. And I think that if you're the Indiana Fever and that is what you are doing, if you are no argument, if you are no question about it, building around Kelsey Mitchell, and Kelsey Mitchell is the player that you want to have as your cornerstone, and she is your franchise player, and all of this stuff. If that is if that's the case, you should, basketball-wise, they're never going to do it because of non-basketball reasons, because of all the marketing reasons. Basketball-wise, you should look to trade Caitlin Clark. Like, you could get Kurt Miller on the phone for Caitlin Clark. You could get Paige Bueckers and the Indiana Fever first-round pick, and the Dallas Wings top 2 pick. Like, you could get Paige Bueckers, and that is a scenario where beside the two of them, then it makes sense to bring in AZ Foot to play with Paige. Then you allow Paige go and play with AZ with a top 2 pick. So you've got Aaliyah Boston, you've got Kelsey Mitchell, you've got Paige, you've got AZ Foot. Maybe you struggle a little bit size-wise. But then you go and get yourself and Azare at the 4. And that is a team where you're like, they might contend, They might contend. And I think they would contend. I'm going to be honest. I think they would contend. I think that lineup is a contending lineup. But at the end of the day, I think it's a while it's it's absolutely, in my opinion, a contending lineup. I still think that they get better doing that than telling Caitlin Clark to go be this off the ball player and watch Kelsey Mitchell go ISO. And I don't even think Paige Bueckers is the best player for that. I just think that's the best thing you can get back. I still think if that's what you want to do, you basically have to build around Kelsey Mitchell like she's Allen Iverson. And for me, the best player that you can do for that is you can go and get yourself Jackie Young. Go and trade Caitlin Clark for Jackie Young and every single pick the Aces have till the end of time. You can get every single thing the Aces have till the end of time for that trade. And could you imagine if the Aces go out with a lineup of power forward Chelsea Gray, Aja Wilson at the 5, you get a sniper at the 4, players will be jumping to play with Aja Wilson and Caitlin Clark. And I'm just trying to think of any other players that you would get and that would be a similar enough value. But I just think that if you're the Indiana Fever and your goal is not to fully buy into Caitlin Clark, and by the way, a team has never, people are like, oh, this is PR talk. A team has never been this scared to say they're building around their best player. Their young star, superstar. Team has never been this scared before. They are the most scared. And by the way, if you are scared of losing Kelsey Mitchell, if you don't basically make sure that she's the first option, then lose Kelsey Mitchell. If that is the caveat, that Kelsey Mitchell has to be the first option and treated like the first option and all of this stuff, otherwise she's going, and core her and trade her. You could get the number 2 pick or the number 1 pick in the draft in a core and trade. If you want to go long term, you could potentially get Jackie Young in a core and trade. You could get the Sky's 4th pick or 5th pick, let's say the 4th pick, and Ariel Atkins. You can absolutely get an unbelievable haul if you core and trade her. And it's all about the long-term effect of the team. And I'm like, you have to build around Caitlin Clark. You just have to. And you have to build around Caitlin Clark. You don't. It's like if the Warriors chose to build around Monte Ellis. And I understand Kelsey Mitchell's better than Monte Ellis, but it's like if the Warriors chose to build around Monte. It's like if the Lakers chose to build around Norm Nixon. It's like if the freaking Pacers chose to build around Miles Turner. And I don't mean that and she's a comparable thing, but I just mean they have a young superstar who gets everybody involved and has helped elevate the team, and you're building around this player that was already there and never got the team to those heights before. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I don't like the way things are going here. I don't think Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark are going to be a fit, but again, we'll see next year. I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening, and I could be wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. Because I think Stephanie White's a hell of a player. I think on a personal level, there's so much respect there, but I really don't think it's going to happen. And the crazy thing is that if it wasn't for the marketing things, I stand by this as well. I think if it wasn't for marketing, they don't draft Caitlin Clark number 1. I think Lynn Dunn takes Camila Cardoso number 1. If I genuinely do. Because, Lynn Dunn was old school and wanted double bigs. And to be fair, Christy Sides didn't even think she was a point guard. But yeah, it's a pity. Because we saw, and the worst part is that we saw the system. We saw the second half versus Atlanta where they won by like 25 points in a half. We saw what they did to Dallas. We saw what they did in the first 10 games post Olympic break. The problem is that when you took back in the day, when you took the Indiana Fever out of that run and gun style, they had no B game. Now with Stephanie White, they have a B game. The problem is that instead of sticking to what really worked as their A game, which was super fun to watch, she's now made what should have been their B game, and as a backup if the A game wasn't working, she wants that to be the A game, and she just doesn't want what their A game, the run and gun Fever, which is the reason why we're watching. She just doesn't want that. She doesn't want that. And unfortunately, there's a world where Kelsey, Caitlin, Aaliyah all eat and are all playing at or near peak level, and I just don't think that it's going to happen under this coach. So should the Fever trade Caitlin Clark if there was no marketing involved, and it's purely basketball reasons? Yes, they should. If we are taking Stephanie White's words at face value, they should trade Caitlin Clark for basketball reasons. It's kind of as simple as that, because if you're trying to build around Kelsey Mitchell, there are better things you can get to build around Kelsey Mitchell in a package for Caitlin Clark than Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark as a mostly off the ball player, or a non-dynamic half court point guard, is not a top 15 player in the WNBA, and you could get a top 15 player or a top 5 player that fits the Kelsey Mitchell system, that fits the Stephanie White motion offense, and a high draft pick, or try to get half a fucking team if you want for her. Let's be real.